The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma. The international credit rating agency Moody's has maintained Georgia's sovereign rating at Ba2, but downgraded its outlook from stable to negative. Moody's report states that Georgia's institutional and governance stability is under threat. Ongoing political changes, including the adoption of the Foreign Influence Transparency Law in May 2024 and delays in the EU accession process, significantly increase uncertainty. Additionally, Moody's highlights concerns about the temporary suspension of Georgia's International Monetary Fund program and changes in the central bank's leadership. These developments raise questions about the national bank's governance policies, which, according to Moody's, weaken Georgia's institutional and governance structures. According to the international rating agency S&P Global, Georgia's banking sector remains stable and competitive in the region through 2025. The report emphasized that Georgia continues to hold a leading position in banking regulation within the region. However, concerns are raised that ongoing political developments and the country's drift from democratic principles may impact the independence of the National Bank of Georgia. We still consider banking regulation and supervision in Georgia to be the most developed in the region. However, the departure from democratic principles may influence banking sector regulation and the independence of the national bank, states S&P Global. In the first quarter of 2025, the business climate deteriorated year over year, according to the BAG index published by the Business Association of Georgia. In quarter the first 2025, the BAG Business Climate Index stood at 31.9 points, including 13.9 points for the current business conditions and 51.5 points for the business expectations. Compared to quarter 4 2024, the BAG Business Climate Index declined by 3.3 points. During this period, survived companies' assessments of the current situation deteriorated by 14.7 points, while the 6 months outlook improved by 9.6 points. The total volume of loans issued by commercial banks in Georgia decreased by 108.11 million Georgian lari in February 2025 compared to the previous months, reaching 62.58 billion Georgian lari by the end of the month. The annual growth of loans, excluding exchange rate effects, was 17.43%. By the end of February 2025, the total volume of deposits in Georgia banking sector amounted 58 billion Georgian lari, marking a decrease of around 1 billion Georgian lari compared to the previous months. The annual growth of deposits, excluding exchange rate effects, stood at 11.78%. According to the National Bank of Georgia statistics, Georgian banks issued a total 3,499 mortgage loans in February 2025, with a total value of 328 million Georgian lari. The number of new mortgage loans decreased by 18.5% compared to the same period last year, while the total mortgage loan portfolio increased by 2%. This indicates that the banks are issuing fewer mortgages than last year, but the average mortgage loan size has increased.
This is The Checkpoints. I'm Elena Konchilashvili, author and the host of the show, and the Checkpoints team is ready to sum up Business and Economics Week for you. TBC Group's success story will be used as educational material in leading universities worldwide. A case study published by the renowned International Business School, IMD, provides a detailed analysis of how TBC transformed from a local bank into a leading financial services provider in the region. For over 50 years, IMD has been publishing case studies on various well-known international brands. The Institute's publications are recognized as some of the most widely sold, innovative, and high-quality analytical resources taught in numerous universities across the globe. Over the years, IMD has released case studies on companies and brands such as Apple, Amazon, MasterCard, ING, Philips, Adidas, and many others, earning multiple international awards for its work. The case study on TBC's success published by IMD describes the company's achievements first in the local market in Georgia and then on an international scale in Uzbekistan, where it established a leading digital banking ecosystem. The study also explores TBC's international expansion strategy and the record-breaking results it has achieved in Uzbekistan within just a few years. Currently, TBC serves over 18 million customers in Uzbekistan, nearly half of the country's population, with this number growing year by year. We are delighted that IMD has shown interest in TBC and conducted a detailed study of our journey from a local Georgian bank to a leading international financial institution. We continue to grow and remain committed to our strategy, constantly seeking new opportunities for expansion, including entering promising new markets. TBC is a company listed on the London Stock Exchange, and I hope our story will serve as an inspiration for IMD students, said Vakhtang Butskhrikidze, CEO of TBC. The IMD case study on TBC's success is now available on the Institute's website.
So, gentlemen, thank you so much for this opportunity. Nika, always great to see you.
Thank you.
My appreciations. Thank you so much, Gataunt, for this meeting. Tell us about IMD itself. I want to brief our viewers and followers in regards to more detail, let me say so, about Switzerland management.
Absolutely. IMD was born about 77 years ago. Through an unusual combination of two institutions, and that till today influences our DNA. The first was actually Nestle, and Nestle today is the world's largest consumer food company with over 90 billion in revenue. And Nestle at that time was growing quite rapidly, and they were sending a lot of people over to the US for business education to Harvard University. So ultimately, they requested Harvard, saying, why don't you set up a school in Switzerland? And Nestle gave the building and the land, and Harvard sent its faculty to set up the business school. So we are born through this combination of Nestle and Harvard. And later, Alcon, at that time the world's largest aluminum company, they joined the partnership as well. Today we are independent. We have nothing to do with Harvard. We have nothing to do with Nestle. We are run as an independent nonprofit. But that DNA is important, the combination of business and academia coming together.
Fantastic. So the reason and my personal challenge through this interview will be why IMD decided first to prepare, to check, then prepare, this survey and case study, and then publish about TBC. How did you find this story in general and then interesting for IMD?
Yeah, I think we hear about interesting companies in a variety of ways. In this particular case, it happened through personal, face-to-face contact when TBC decided to come to IMD. Of course, IMD gets 14,000 executives on campus every year. We're not going to write a case study on every company. we tend to write case studies based on two things. One, the company is doing some very interesting things that many others are not doing. And two, they've actually managed to pull it off. And there are therefore some good, interesting lessons for other company senior leaders to learn from. So it is this combination of doing very interesting things, being successful at it, and there are actually some good lessons for others to learn.
And that's TBC case.
That's the TBC case.
Please share with me some more benefits and values which is coming after from this story itself. So how this case study might benefit your students and your others, all of them. It's published, it's shareable, and it's very important for us to know the details.
I think there's two ways in which we can benefit. One is what we do at IMD, of course, but the goal is not to restrict it just to IMD. This case, which we hope will also maybe one day win an award, maybe, we don't know that, is to publicize it to as many business schools as possible, so that anybody in a business school who is interested in the following question: how does a legacy company that is a market leader reinvent itself in a very different way? How did they do it? Because what we do know is majority fail trying to do so. A good example is what's happening in the automobile industry today. Look at all the challenges automobile companies are facing because they're not able to adapt to the EV revolution, the self-driving revolution, the software revolution. So most legacy companies struggle with these issues, and TBC is one of those rare companies that has managed to do it well.
So personal for you, how you evaluate the fact IMD covered the story, covered the case study, which is very important, at the same time published. What does it mean in general?
I think, first of all, I mean, just to call it in the proper ways, I think it's a huge achievement for TBC and for our country, because as Gautam said, IMD hosts more than 10,000 executives every year on the campus. And the mere fact that it got attention and captured the attention of IMD team and Gautam in particular is a big achievement in my opinion. So we are doing something very right. The second thing is that it is once more confirming that we are on the right path. And the things we do and the way we do them is something of a global scale. I mean, the fact that we are from Georgia, which is not the biggest country in the world, right? We are just 3.5 million people. And the fact that we grew out of Georgia to enter another country, which is Uzbekistan, 10 times bigger than Georgia, 38 million people. And the way we did it, not with a conventional manner, but in terms of digital expansion only through a mobile banking app, basically is a massive, massive, massive story. And it's very, very cool that IMD basically took this story and is now going to publish it and to distribute it to the students and to talk about it in these classes, basically, which are the top class because IMD is one of the best schools in the world.
So at the same time, what I find is, what I found, maybe let me say so, while briefing the story and the case itself is the following. How do you find we're doing something right, as Nika has mentioned. We're going to the right way. But at the same time, how do you find this story as inspiring for not just students, but whoever will cover it or read it or share it? So why it is inspiring?
I think, we are always inspired by what I would call as David versus Goliath stories.
Okay.
Right? In a sense, Georgia, a small country, no reason to have a company that is growing so fast, delivering some amazing financial results. So that by itself gives a lot of small companies hope, right? And the small companies are generally the bedrock of society. And so when a small country does it and is able to do it in a much larger geography, just the optics of that look very great, right? It gives hope to everybody. I think the second thing is, because we know that so many legacy companies have failed at it, that makes it inspiring. That anybody who's in a legacy company says, maybe there's a roadmap here. Maybe there are some crucial lessons that I can take back into my own company. Let me just give you a very simple statistic. If you take the 500 largest companies in the US
Okay.
in 1995, and you look at how many of them were on the list in 2020, it is only 192. So 60% fell off the list. Now, maybe they fell off not because they grew slower and others grew faster. No, 230 of the 308 or so that fell off the list got bought over or went bankrupt and things like that. This is hard to do. It's really, really hard for legacy companies to reinvent themselves. And I think the DNA that this company has really gives somebody hope that, hey, you can be young and old at the same time.
Nika, at the same time having Switzerland's International Institute for Management Development as a case study issuer, what does it mean for TBC itself?
I mean, we honestly, firstly, we value IMD a lot because we did several interactions with IMD. For instance, several years ago, we took top approximately 50 people of our company to IMD for a week to strategize together with Gautam and the team about our plans. And this is actually where all this started from. And for us, IMD is world's one of the best companies in its industry, honestly. I mean, they are the top class. So when this kind of company appreciates what you do and thinks that your path is something that will inspire others that also come to IMD, it's a massive confirmation and a motivation for the whole management, because these things do not happen just like this, you know. I mean, this is one in every million companies get a chance to be acknowledged or to be told about to other companies, you know, and this is a massive fact. So I would say we should be humble to continue working like we did before. However, we should also understand that we have been acknowledged, and this is very cool.
Is there something? Yes, please.
What I wanted to add is, when I look at myself or my colleagues, the type of cases we teach, I did a case on Nespresso, I did a case on Unilever, I did a case on Nike, Boeing. Those are typically the type of companies we are writing. Why? Because everybody knows those brands. Everybody wants to know where those companies are going. So why did we pick TBC? Only because we felt there's something very interesting going on here. Because otherwise, how do you get the attention of an audience? If I say Nike, everybody's paying attention. If I say Unilever, they're paying attention. Nespresso, of course they're paying attention. TBC, now, who the hell is TBC, right? That's the first question. So unless the lessons are powerful, we would never pick a case like this.
But the interest might be even more. What about
Bingo.
TBC? Yeah.
That's the reason why we are picking it, because I think when you do things what I would call as against the odds, that's when something really catches people's attention from a learning perspective. And that's what our goal is, right? If I talk about IMD's purpose, right? Our purpose is very simple: challenging what is and inspiring what can be.
Great.
So when we get 14,000 executives every year to come to IMD, or we go to their companies, that's what we are trying to do. Can we challenge them on what they're doing, and can we inspire them on what is possible? And at IMD, we try to do it in a very grounded, practical way, not in a theoretical way, but let's look at a company. Let's look at what they're doing. And that's really what that our purpose is, and we try to live it every day. And stories like TBC make it possible for us, where people say, yeah, I learned something very good today, which I'll take back to my business.
You mentioned about Uzbekistan. You moved there, you're based there. Whole Georgia knows it, but at the same, they know it, and at the same time, I want to use this momentum and to brief our viewers and followers about the latest results. What you have, what do I mean, Nika, by this is 2024 actual results, what you have already published through your personal and professional channels, and how does it go?
First thing that people have to understand and recall is that we are in Uzbekistan just 4.5 years old. So in the 4.5 years, we managed to achieve a number of customers, approximately 19 million. So in Uzbekistan, we have 19 million customers. Now, somebody will say Uzbekistan is a big country. It is a big country, but it is half of the population.
Population of this country.
So what we have in our customer base is we have 19 million customers, which is 50% of Uzbek population. This is achievement number one. Achievement number two is that in these 4 years, we managed to become very profitable with a return on equity of approximately 27%, which is world-class already. And this all, especially to underline this last fact, this all done in a very innovative, challenging, and to an extent, unknown business model manner, because we are doing this all only through the mobile experience. So there are very few digital banks globally that manage to break even in 2 years, become so profitable in 4 years, and manage to attract 19 million customers. So this is in short what we did in 4 years in Uzbekistan.
Do you estimate any kind of plans for 2025? I'm not talking about some figures at the same time, but please brief us about your plans as well.
I can tell you what we promised to our investors.
Just to grow, maybe.
Yeah, we promised our investors that we're going to have at least $75 million in net profit, which is approximately doubling what we did last year. And this is a massive thing. So if you think for a second that we achieved this scale and now we're going to double this scale again, this is a massive execution effort. So the kudos goes to the team and everybody who is supporting us, because this is not just a selection of people or myself, right? There's a massively strong team standing behind it in Georgia and in Uzbekistan that is pushing these limits, further. So this is a very, very good achievement.
And what I want to just add there is, not many companies have built what I would call as a scalable infrastructure.
What do you mean by this?
What I mean by that is, if they go from 19 million, let's say 22, 24 million customers, but also selling them many more products and services.
Nika is talking about statistics. We both know
Yes.
that 90 million is, yes, definitely half of the population.
Right.
But when we're talking about the customers,
That's right.
as 90 million,
That's right.
it's absolutely different.
It's totally
it means
different.
majority of the active population.
If you look at the adult
different.
population, exactly, right? So the struggle for most companies is, as I sell my customers more products and services, can I keep my cost structure similar? Does it go up? Does it go down? So I think the infrastructure they have built here at TBC is you're actually, as you add more customers, the per customer cost can actually go down. And that's not very common. That's not very common. And I think that's where there are some very interesting lessons also to many companies, because I truly believe that the next gen companies that will be successful will do it where you can scale without increasing your costs very much. Meaning, whatever your costs are today, they won't go up dramatically when you double or when you do things like that. And that's really where the magic is.
Thank you so much, and I hope that we will hear a lot from IMD about your existing and future partnership with our good friends and partners from TBC.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck.
Pleasure.
Thank you for the interest. Thank you.
Thank you.
More on business this week. Natia Taktakishvili will take the floor.
Irakli Burdiladze, managing partner of White Square and BK Holding, declares that the real estate price will continue to grow, although the scale might not be as large as in the previous years. Burdiladze stated that despite the decline, the situation in the real estate industry is healthy. The growth rate will not be the same as in 2024 or 2023, but this does not mean that the sector will not increase. There was the highest growth in the previous months due to a one-time factor. It was the influx of migrants that grew the demand for rental apartments, which led to an increase in the attractiveness of this property for investors. We no longer have exogenous factors, but economic growth in Georgia is quite high. It was 11% in January, which was translated into an increase in household incomes. And when income increases, first of all, it improves the living conditions, he said. According to Burdiladze, he does not see any risks, and he notes that White Square and its partner company are going to invest more than 100 million USD in one-time specific project. Beyond that, they have 8 more projects. Moreover, White Square is going to launch 2 new projects this year. Slovak Georgian investment group Gino Holding will invest 250 million euro in the construction of Tbilisi Boulevard near the Aquapark Gino Paradise. According to the investors' plans, the project will be finished in 6 years. The first resort in the city will transform the vacational experience into daily comfort and change the understanding of urban life. We aim to demonstrate that it's possible to combine the pleasant with the useful. Moreover, the new residential complex Tbilisi Boulevard, developed on 30 hectares, will combine residential investment, commercial, office, entertainment and hotel infrastructure in one space, the company said. The residential complex will have a green and well-equipped yard with children's entertainment infrastructure, football, basketball, rugby fields, paddle and tennis courts, bike paths, gym, school and kindergarten, shopping and business centers with shared workspaces, hotel, medical institutions, restaurants and cafes, banks, pharmacy and other consumer facilities, independent parking building for 1,000 cars and a well-equipped 8,000 square coastline. The company Gino Holding was founded by Nodar Giorgadze in 2004, and now with a total investment of 210 million euro, it combines a number of successful projects in Slovakia and Georgia. Merma is a Georgian company that produces coffee capsules, offering coffee machines, beans and tea bags in addition to European and American format capsules. The company plans to increase the export of coffee capsules along with developing the Georgian market. According to the company's 2023 financial report, Merma's operating income doubled and reached 12.4 million lari. The increase in the income was not enough, as Merma's finished 2023 with a loss of 10.3 million lari. However, the company's losses have decreased, as they had 12 million lari in 2022. In total, the company has accumulated a loss of 56.9 million lari over the years. According to Merma's management report, the company currently produces 60 types of American and 60 types of European format coffee capsules, also 9 different flavored tea capsules and 4 types of ground coffee. Cafe Daphna is working on expanding its chain after operating a branch in Batumi. Nicholas Mameishvili, co-founder of the tourist facility, told BMDG that they are considering opening a brand with a different concept in Tbilisi. According to him, at the first stage, it's planned to expand throughout Georgia, namely in the direction of Tbilisi. In addition, the company also plans to bring the brand outside the country, although the founder of Daphna notes that this requires appropriate conditions. Nicholas Mameishvili told BMDG that the implementation of the plan will depend on the results of the summer tourist season. When the season ends in Batumi and we will see how Batumi branch will work, we will consider opening a new branch in Tbilisi away from our existing facility. Most likely in Saburtalo district, Nicholas Mameishvili said. As for the Batumi branch, according to the restaurant's co-founder, the successful operation of the first branch opened in Tbilisi was the reason for Daphne to expand. Accordingly, last year a branch was opened in Batumi. Expansion was considered either in Tbilisi or another city. Given that we have our own sentiments with Batumi, we decided to have Daphne in the seaside city as well. So with TBC's support, we opened a branch in Batumi, Mameishvili said. Cafe Daphne has been operating in Tbilisi since 2017. Suena Resort, located in the village of Lechuri, Tel Aviv municipality, is developing the hotel's infrastructure. The facilities manager Salome Chumbadze spoke to BMDG about this. This year, we are going to add outdoor jacuzzi, create entertainment space and a volleyball court because we have space to utilize. The mentioned infrastructure will be available from May, the manager said. The hotel mainly operates from May to October when the tourist in Kakheti is in full swing, while during other periods the tourist facility is closed and serves corporate events for which only a few employees work. We have a lot of foreign reservations from Booking.com from June to August. May is fully booked. Tourist flows from Europe to the country have weakened due to the recent developments in Georgia. Accordingly, if earlier they mainly came from Germany and USA, now they are visiting us from neighboring countries, namely Israel and Turkey, Salome Chumbadze said. According to her, the price at the hotel have not been adjusted, so the average cost of accommodation for one night with breakfast amounts to 210 lari. A high-class hotel in Kakheti was built with the private investment of businessman Nugzar Galandarishvili and with co-financing from the agency Enterprise Georgia. The total investment volume amounted to 5 million lari. Shvenieradze winery is expanding this year and 2 new rooms will be added to the tourist facility. Georgi Shvenieradze, the co-founder of the tourist facility, spoke to BMDG about this. According to him, until now the facility had only 1 room which is located above the cellar where only 2 people could be accommodated. The room offers a view on the vineyards and the Ajameti resort. Now 2 more rooms are being added to the facility which should be available from summer. This year we will add 2 more spaces to the facility. This space should be completed by summer and we will be able to host 6 people. We have applied bank loan to implement this project, so the hotel investment that we have made so far is about 200,000 lari. Accommodation for one night on Airbnb and Booking.com costs about 150 lari without breakfast. Our guests can add breakfast and dinner if desired, Georgi Shvenieradze said. According to him, in the future, in line with the business growth, he plans to increase investment volumes and develop the tourist facility further.
Since generative artificial intelligence models emerged on the market, content creation as well as coding and research has become significantly easier, allowing the companies that develop this technology to gain considerable financial benefits. This technology is so revolutionary that millions of people use it daily, and this trend is expected to accelerate even further over time. The Tech-Informed team discussed the specifics of generative artificial intelligence, also known as Gen AI, with George Gill, an evangelist of this technology who is visiting Georgia as part of the Innovation Launch project organized by the Israeli Embassy.
Sure. Hi, thank you very much for your time. It's a pleasure to talk about generative AI, which has been one of the best and most talked about technologies so far. So it's interesting to have an insight from a real expert on this topic.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk to you about Gen AI. I'm really excited about it.
Sure. So artificial intelligence has been around for decades. People have been developing it, but for the general audience, AI and Gen AI have been around for more or less a few years. So big thanks to ChatGPT and alike programs that allowed us to use the interface very easily. I'd like to think about and talk about what generative AI has brought to the table in the last few years.
So it's really an amazing scale of development and events that happened in the last few years. Generative AI has been around for years, I would say maybe 8 to 10 years. but the rate of development has really accelerated recently. I started working with this technology around 2017, 2018. At that point, it was GPT-2, GPT-3, and the technology was only available to programmers. You could only access it through an API, through an interface, through software functions. And I was really amazed by it because, you give a prompt, you ask something, you get a paragraph of text, and it's very useful. But the moment you're talking about, this ChatGPT moment, which happened on November 30th, 2022, was when ChatGPT was available to anyone through the web, and people started using it. And then we became aware of the real potential. And since then, it started a cycle because companies became aware of the potential, so they started developing more. And people were aware of the potential, so the demand began to increase. And this started a cycle where in the past almost 2.5 years, the development has been enormous in this field.
Based on the statistics we see, so ChatGPT, for example, or any other, this type of Claude or any other available technology is mainly used by individual people and also by enterprises as well. Firstly, I'd like to focus on business, and I'd like to pick your brain a bit on the advice you would give to a company that thinks about using generative AI or any sort of technology called artificial intelligence in general for their business to scale, to be more efficient, etc. What they should think about in the first place?
So I think the first thing they should think about is planning for this process, because it's a process that will affect all of the organization. I call it a generative AI transformation project. Like we had the digital transformation, you move to the internet, at some point companies move to the cloud, and it's a project, you need to do a transformation. In this case, there are several aspects that are different. One of them is that it affects all the organization. It's not just for the IT people. Anybody can use generative AI in purchasing, in marketing, in HR, in finance. All of your employees can use it. Another aspect is it relates not only to the employees, but to the data of the organization. So you have to prepare the data so Gen AI can work on that data. And the third aspect, which is really the most significant, is the rate of change. You would do a cloud transformation project, you would plan it for a few months, implement it for a year, and then for 3 to 5 years, you're okay. You work with that cloud. But with Gen AI, every day, every week, there are new developments, new capabilities. Chatbots are working now much better than before. And now we're starting to have autonomous agents that can work for your organization. So I think the main change in an organization, in order to adopt generative AI, it has to be agile. It has to know how to integrate new technologies every few months and not every few years. And that's the only way that an organization can remain competitive in the era of generative AI, because otherwise, like two entrepreneurs with an army of 100 agents will take over the business.
Based on your experience, could you share one or maybe two examples of how generative AI has been used recently in a business to scale it or to just transform it in a way that has been unprecedented before?
Yes, so I do these processes of generative AI transformation for companies. It usually starts with a presentation to management. I show them the fast progress in the past few years, and then they understand both the importance and the urgency of implementing generative AI. And then we do trainings for the employees, and we set up a generative AI policy, which is very important, and internal knowledge centers, etc. Now, I used to tell the organizations, this is useful for all of your functions in the company. It can help you in marketing, in sales, logistics, purchasing, all of that. All the white-collar jobs, everybody that works on computers, basically everyone except that the person who actually operates a machine on the production line. But then I did this process in a company, a pharmaceutical company, and they produce the drugs inside the company. And we find a very interesting use case for those people who are operating machines. So it's useful for them also. And the use case is we upload the user manual of the machine into a generative AI tool like ChatGPT. And then we talk to an operator of the machine that has a lot of experience, and we interview this person for a few hours. And then we transcribe the interview and we upload that to the ChatGPT or whatever chatbot you are using. And then a new employee who works on the machine can ask questions. So he has now this expert inside the machine. And if he has a problem with the machine, this expert will suggest ways to troubleshoot and to fix the problem. And now I can very easily build a training on operating the machine and a quiz, and I can check the quiz automatically. So the whole process of onboarding employees, which used to take 4 months, now can be done in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, this reminds me of the Omniverse project that NVIDIA launched recently, when they allow for robots to be trained independently of the physical environment somewhere in the cloud. So that's very interesting. I'd like to ask you about the common misconceptions that exist in businesses when, for instance, when they first start thinking about implementing generative AI in their processes.
So one of the things I see all the time is that companies say, generative AI is a hole in my security and my data can leak through. And if I send prompts or produce documents with the generative AI tools, then somebody else can see those documents. So I'm going to ban all the generative AI tools in my company, and that's it. So companies who do that will find themselves very quickly behind because their competitors are using generative AI. And the truth is, I know where this misconception comes from because by default, if you use the free version of those chatbots, they use your information for training. They use the prompts and they use the output for training. But you can very easily opt out in the settings and say, don't use my information for training. And if you buy an enterprise version of the chatbot, if you license it, by default, they don't use your information for training. So there's no reason to be afraid that something you write to the system will appear somewhere else. Now, it's true that your information resides on the server. In the case of ChatGPT, it's OpenAI. In the case of Copilot, it's Microsoft. In the case of Gemini, it's Google. But a lot of your other information resides on those servers, right? If you're using Office 365 or if you're using Google Workspace, your information is in the cloud anyway. So you can decide which company you trust and use that company's solution. But you shouldn't completely ban the tools just because of security concerns, because they're solvable. And if you have a very sensitive organization, like in defense or finance or something like that, you can also run the models locally. You can run them on your servers, on-prem or in the cloud, and then the information never goes out to the internet. And we have very good open source models today that are very near in their capabilities to the commercial models, and you can run them on-prem, and then you don't have any issue with security.
Look, for me as a person who uses ChatGPT and other models on a daily basis for basically everything, this is a very aha moment. Something like, in my opinion, I haven't been there when the internet first originated, but I think that it's something like that. But now people don't use it as much as they should, at least in Georgia for now. But I definitely see a future where Gen AI is a daily thing. It's something you do on the phone as you scroll, for instance, something like that. In a world like that where everyone uses Gen AI, how do you differentiate the level to which businesses can use it effectively in terms of competition? When the competition is very stiff, what should businesses do to use Gen AI even more to be competitive and be better than anyone else?
So this again brings me back to the issue of adoption. You need to adopt the latest tools, and you need to be an agile organization that follows the development. You need to have a small team in-house that uses the newest tools and tries them on business processes of your organization, and then comes up with conclusions of what works and what doesn't work for you. And if you have this process and it's efficient, you can use it and can be up to date. If you are slow in your adoption, and only today starting to use like ChatGPT or something like that, you will fall behind. When your competitor is also is already trying out the new agents, which can bring even more productivity to the organization. So the key to be competitive is to be adaptive and to be agile.
What are the main myths that exist in the Gen AI and in general AI sphere today, which might interrupt this process of adoption?
So, and you mentioned that people here are not using it enough. And I think one of the things they're afraid of is technology. They think this is technology, this is deep technology. I'm not a technical person, I'm not going to use it. So the truth is, of course, under the hood, there's deep technology. There are neural networks and large language models and embeddings and vectors and stuff like that. But when you use it, it's a very simple interface, right? It's like you use WhatsApp. You message it. You send a message, you get an answer like you get it from a person. And if you use the mobile app, you can even talk to it with your own voice. So it's like you're talking to a person. And this is very natural. And because of this natural interface, everybody can actually use it. They can use it as a companion. They can use it to learn. They can use it as a private tutor. And I think this potential is not realized enough. But it can really help you. It can help students in school in whatever subject that they study. It can ask them questions. It can teach them according to their level. It can even bring metaphors from a world they're familiar with. For example, teach me about the theory of relativity, but I love rock music, so tell me about things from rock music. And then it says, okay, so you're in this rock band, and suddenly they're going on a solo, and this is like the speed of light and things like that. So it makes it much more engaging for those students when they study and they get the explanation and they can connect to that field. So I think there's really great potential in using it in education. And again, anybody can use it. And you mentioned before the mindset. You have the mindset. You're using it every day. I think everyone can use it every day. Your mindset should be, for any question I have, before I go to Google, before I ask somebody, first I go to ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot or Claude and ask them, what do you think? What is the answer? And if you adopt this mindset, you can really be much more productive.
That's so true, because I haven't used Google in a very long time now, because it's just inefficient. The technology, when you can get like the whole proper answer with the context and background, it's just so much better. This topic brings me to my another question, which is about the use of generative AI by individual people to launch businesses. And I know you have a lecture on that topic, how to launch a business with, or how to prepare a business plan with ChatGPT. Could you please share a few insights on this topic?
Yes, so this is actually a project that I did 2 years ago. So it was like 5 or 6 weeks after ChatGPT launched. And I played it with ChatGPT from day one. And my background is entrepreneurship and startups and VCs. So I tried to see how can I use it with documents that I need, with strategies that I need for my startup. So, and then I challenged myself. I said, I am going to build a startup using ChatGPT alone in 60 minutes, in 1 hour, from the stage I have no idea what I want to do until the exit. And I managed to meet my challenge, and there were articles about it in the local media. And first I asked ChatGPT, how do you build a startup? So ChatGPT told me, and this was ChatGPT 3.5. You know, since then we have several generations that are better, but even then it was amazing what it could do. It said you need an idea, and then you need a business plan, then you go to investors, and you build your company, and then you grow it, and then you sell your product, and finally you can sell the company. I said, okay, let's start with stage one, idea. Can you give me an idea for a company that has innovative technology and has a potential for large revenues? He said, of course, and he gave me dozens of ideas. Finally, I picked one, and it was a company for analyzing legal documents. And I said, okay, what should we call this company? So it gave me some ideas from name, and I picked Contract IQ. I really liked the name. And then I said, give me a slogan for the company. And it gave me slogans that were not very good. So I said, now give me something witty, something whimsical. So it came up with reading between the lines, Contract IQ. I said, wow, that's nice. For something that analyzes legal documents, that's great. And then I said, okay, now give me a presentation to investors, an executive summary, company mission, all of that. It built everything. And then it built my marketing plan and my website and tweets and all of that. But the really amazing part, when I asked it to build the product, I said, give me a spec for the product of analyzing legal documents. It gave me a spec. And then I said, okay, take this function from the spec and give me code. So it gave me code in Python for implementing that function. And in the code, I looked in the code and I saw it is looking for keywords. It's looking for keywords like shall and will and should, which have legal meaning. And based on these keywords, it is analyzing and classifying paragraphs in the document. So it actually built working code for a product that it invented, for a company that it invented. And that was really amazing. So I went on with marketing and development plan and all of that. And finally I said, if I reach $10 million sales, how can I sell the company? And ChatGPT said, well, there are several companies in legal tech that you can sell to. And it gave me the names. And finally I said, okay, now write an M&A contract with that company. It wrote the contract. So that's it. From the stage, I had no idea. Until the exit, 60 minutes. Of course, I didn't build the company itself, only all the documents that are needed. But I posted this on LinkedIn as an open source, so entrepreneurs can see that you can use ChatGPT or any other chatbot today for any function in your company, for marketing, for sales, for strategy even, for brainstorming. And that's what I learned from this project, and that's what I'm doing until today in helping organizations use it in any part of their business.
And it's incredible that it's only 2025 and the technology can do this now, and we could only imagine what will happen in 10, 15, 20 years. It's just the potential is very big. Right. Dror, I'd like to ask you about your visit here to Georgia, because you are part of a Innovation Lounge, which is an initiative launched by the Embassy of Israel. We have a very long history between our two nations. It's been centuries already, but now our partnership is mainly about innovation, because Israel obviously is one of the biggest and most important players in terms of startups, innovation, cybersecurity, whatever, basically everything. In your opinion, what does this sort of event, such as Innovation Lounge, how does it help the nations unite and share ideas and collaborate on the projects?
So Innovation Lounge is modeled based on a meetup that I set up in Israel 15 years ago that's called Haifa Beer Tech. So it's a monthly meetup of entrepreneurs and investors that come together and discuss technology and hear stories of entrepreneur, both success stories and failure stories, because you can also learn a lot from failures. And this has been going on for a long time, and it actually built the community. In my hometown of Haifa, which is in the north of Israel, we didn't have a lot of high-tech community there. Mostly was centered around Tel Aviv. So that actually built the community when people can come together. So I think Innovation Lounge is, first of all, a place to build a community, where people come together, they meet each other, they drink, they talk, they discuss ideas, they can form partnerships, they can build startups, they can find investors, they can get feedback on their existing ideas, and they can also hear stories from people who already did it. And I think that by bringing entrepreneurs and high-tech people from Israel that can tell their story, this can be a really great synergy of both forming a community among the people here in Tbilisi, and also hearing success stories and failure stories of entrepreneurs, how they build companies. You know, in Israel, we have very large startup companies. We have dozens of unicorns, and you probably heard this week of the amazing exit of Wiz to Google, $32 billion, which is really one of the largest technology exits ever. So I think there's a lot to share and a lot to learn and to collaborate. And there are people here with great technical skills. And this connects again to AI, because today, all you need is an idea, and you can start using the generative AI tools, not only to build the documents, but today also to build the software, to actually write client and server software, and to build an MVP, minimum viable product, with your bare hands, actually. So I think combining this technology with ideas and innovation and a community and hearing the stories and getting inspired will help build the tech ecosystem right here.
Thank you very much. It's been a very insightful and interesting interview, and good luck with Innovation Lounge, and good luck with all the projects that you've been and will be doing independently and in Israel and here in Georgia as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you very much.
Let us wrap up with what was new in the economy this week. We will meet next Sunday, but before that, you know what to do. Check us on bm.g and stay tuned to BMG TV.
Commercial banks operating in Georgia have submitted their financial report to the National Bank of Georgia. According to the report, as of February 2025, total credit portfolio of Georgian banks amounted to 64.3 billion lari, of which 23.7 billion lari were issued for consumer loans, 22.5 billion lari for corporate segment, and 10 billion lari for small businesses and 8 billion lari for micro businesses. In the direction of business loans, the first place is taken by credits issued to the real estate development sector. The portfolio of which amounted to 4.05 billion lari as of February 2025. Lending to this sector has increased by 50% compared to the same period of the previous year. In second place in lending is the service sector with 3.6 billion lari, which has increased by 29% annually. Real estate management is in the third place with 3.4 billion lari. Agriculture is in the fourth place with a loan portfolio of 3.2 billion lari, and tourism is in the fifth place with a portfolio of 3 billion lari. Patients enrolled in the Universal Health Care program will benefit from co-payments for hip joint implants. For those requiring partial or complete joint replacement, the need to opt out of the state program has been eliminated. Patients will only need to cover the cost of desired implant, while the state will reimburse the remaining expenses related to the surgery per the established package. A meeting was held at the Ministry of Health to discuss this change, which is the result of collaborative efforts between the ministry and healthcare sector. Health Minister Mikhail Sarjoladze noted that innovations was implemented with careful consideration of patients' interests and needs. During the meeting, it was clarified that patients are free to choose. If beneficiaries prefer to utilize co-payments, the state will still cover the cost of the implant provided under the program, along with all associated surgical costs. Rustaveli Avenue reconstruction work slated for next year will include renovation of buildings and replacement of underground communications, said Kakakaladze Tbilisi mayor at the municipal government meeting. The city hall postponed Rustaveli Avenue reconstruction for 2026 since to be carried out works based on conducted studies turned out to be of a large scale than expected and would require more time, Kakakaladze explained. Tbilisi mayor further said that current underground communications arranged during the communist era lacked proper sewage and drainage systems and were outdated. We decided not to carry out the mentioned works this year and postpone them for next year. Initially, we will replace underground communication and reconstruction, the road infrastructure, and then we plan to renovate existing buildings on Rustaveli Avenue, Kakakaladze stated. Edelweiss Air, the Swiss air company, will start operations on the Georgian aviation market this spring. The company will implement direct flights between Tbilisi and Zurich from Tbilisi International Airport 2 times a week on Tuesdays and Sundays from April 12. The Civil Aviation Agency of Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development granted the operation permit to Edelweiss Air on March 20. The agency said the Swiss air company's entry into Georgian market will boost tourist inflows from European countries and facilitate traveling between Georgia and Switzerland. Edelweiss Air is a Swiss leisure and charter airline, the sister company of Swiss International Airlines and subsidiary of Lufthansa Group.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.